I don't like discussing music with professional musicians. They know little but like to fight a lot. They spend a little time with us, learn just a little from us, and then say they have known this all along. They claim our knowledge is only bookish, not useful for skillful practitioners. I suppose one should just accept that they are the ones who are virtuous, skilled, can play instruments and sing, and so we should just acknowledge what they say as the truth.
At the turn of the 20th century, Indian musicologist and scholar Vishnu Narayan Bhatkande set out on a series of research tours all over India to search out and write the first connected history of Indian music. In these tours, he didn't interview musicians so much as he interrogated them, often provoking them to link the claims to established texts. Despite Bhatkande's progressive vision of music becoming institutionalized, accessible and free from all political and religious entanglements, he could not do away with his anti-Muslim prejudice and misogynistic attitude. Here, he sits in the very courtyard where our story takes place. His eyes water and his mouth is dry. He sits unable to see through the walls that surround him.
Well, I stopped playing music live a long time ago. It was some broadcast gig for some kind of radio station nobody cared about. I played a cover of something by Werewolf, and afterwards they gave me a little tape of what they broadcast. Well, they say you should wait a few months before listening to a fresh recording. Give yourself some perspective, because then at least you can say you've grown and improved since you made it. It's like a guarantee of closure for yourself in a way, you know? So, I felt like this is the right time for me to claim my closure, so I listened to the tape again, and surprisingly, aside from some really noticeable mistakes, it didn't sound that bad. I took the tape out of the deck and cut all the bad parts out. You gotta love razor blades. Reorganized the whole song. Really, I mean, put the last verse in the beginning, cut things in half, take words out, and after some editing and some basic EQ, well, it sounded really good. In fact, it sounded almost nothing like the song I was covering, which I thought was great. You know, that whole argument that using technology in music production is being creatively dishonest, that's nonsense. You know, sometimes I still pull out that tape and I edit. No.
3 musicians and 2 sound technicians arrive at the Aga Khan Museum in light of a recent invitation they received to perform music there. They enter at midday, 6 months before they are to perform, to attend a complimentary architectural tour arranged for them by the museum's programming directors.
Before we begin the tour, I just want to go over some ground rules. There's no food and drink on the ground floor or in any of the galleries. You're welcome to take notes, but please use a pencil if you do. Ink can sometimes splatter, and we don't want that to get on in the artifacts. So the theme of the building is light. His Highness directed Fumiko to incorporate light in as many ways as possible into the building. And to that effect, we see here the courtyard, which brings in light the entire atrium. If we continue, we can see that this light reflects everywhere. And on a sunny day, we would actually see this beautiful Mashrabiyya pattern reflected onto the interior walls of the atrium.
Music performance as we know it is a rotting corpse. Those who are trying to keep it alive are often ostracized from musical communities. Their views, technical apparatus, and musical approach as a whole often is and needs to be radically different. Life is full of suppression. Traumatic events, fear, and even success prohibit experimentation, breaking rules, and growth. I still remember that moment when I first realized that some things in life should not be trusted. I still remember that moment when I first realized that some things in life should not be trusted. Oh, I still remember that moment when I first realized that some things in life should not be trusted. Trauma is a suppression device that prohibits change. It was only after realizing this that I connected to this music. Because this music is so affected by changes in the environment, like a person, these musical ideas are meant to be heard, felt, and then let go.
The musicians request to preview possible spaces for their upcoming performance. Their tour guide takes them to the museum's auditorium, where a number of renowned musicians have performed in the past. Although they are hesitant about performing in an auditorium, they are curious to see how it looks and sounds.
This is the auditorium.
Wow.
If you take a look around, all of the wood that you see is imported Indonesian teak. And if you look up, the dome structure that you see is called a mukarnas. It's common in Islamic architecture and usually has a skylight at the top. In this case, Maki has used artificial light to replicate that. There are 336 seats in the auditorium, each of them with a perfect view of the stage. If you also look up, you'll notice mashrubiyah screens on the walls. Behind the screens are adjustable acoustic curtains that can be moved to meet the needs of individual performances.
Open up the room that way, make it more live or dead.
We've also left the mics up from last night's concert.
Oh, excuse me. Hey, do you know if that's a one-to-one patch night?
I'm not really sure. You're gonna have to talk to our sound guy.
What's his name?
It's Eric.
Eric?
Yeah, Eric.
Is he in now?
Yeah, he should be in now.
He's in the booth? Awesome.
Are the mics still patched?
Yes.
Can I test them out?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Eric, hi. Could you please open up the mics? We're going to do a quick check. Sound test. Thanks, sir. Ready?
Test. Test 1. Test.
After hearing the acoustics in the theater, this musician begins to wonder if live performance in concert halls involves more of an engagement with amplification technology than with a live audience. The bright stage lights, linear, authoritative stage, and dark auditorium is of little interest to him. He informs his colleagues that he's far more inspired by the courtyard they all saw earlier.
First off, anyone who knows anything about producing quality music knows that this courtyard isn't an ideal space. This space is full of subjectivities. For instance, it's spring here in Toronto, and it's still a bit too cold to be performing outside. The cold tends to shrink metal, raising the key of the instrument sometimes by a full semitone. The warm sunlight travels across the courtyard over time, changing the temperature and the instrument's tuning all over again. In terms of acoustics, any sound produced in here bounces off these tall glass walls several times, similar to some sort of electronic phaser effect. But you see, the music that we perform is full of subjectivities too. We improvise within a selected musical structure, be it a scale with emphasis points or a collection of phrases. The structure we choose to create within corresponds to weather and time of day. Also, as a singer, what I eat before performing, how much I sleep the night before, my mental state and sense of presence directly affects things like my vocal range, the clarity of my sound, and my temperament. So instead of producing music in a completely neutral setting, why not embrace these variable conditions? I've always found that responding directly to the state of the body and the space that music is made in makes for a much more engaging performance or recording. So, for most musicians, this courtyard is full of...
Whoa!
Following a short discussion, the musicians agree that instead of performing a public concert in the auditorium, they would much rather produce a live recording in the museum's courtyard. They go on to transform the courtyard into a recording studio.
All right, cable's all set over here.
Good. I need you to just give me a sec to get this in place.
Okay.
I want you to start working on placing the speakers in position, please. Set the gain at the back of it for 12 o'clock, please.
Got it.
Match it, mirror it, make it mirror the other box.
Jim, how's the angle?
It's pretty good. It's
A bit more? Okay, got it.
That's
good?
yeah, just set it for full range. The switch
Okay.
on your left. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Patching it in.
When you yeah, it's channel 1, right?
Yep, it's on one. Feeling good?
Yeah.
Well,
I need you to just move that slightly to the right, please. That's better. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Ah, there we go.
Good.
We're finally
Need you to make an
synchronizing.
adjustment on the speaker, please.
Got it.
Bring it down just to here. Sound good, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Ready for sound check, Steve?
Yeah, bringing up channel 1.
Feeling good.
Channel 1, NKG.
Okay.
A little higher. Just a little bit.
Right, that's good.
Stop there.
Nice sound out here.
That's good. Okay, stop
How's
there.
that?
That's good. Maybe just a little bit more.
Okay.
That's good, that's good. Okay, can you solo channel 2 for me, please? Just press the button there. So that's it.
Most people don't know this, but actors are needed in more places than in just theater and film. There are a lot of practical uses for us, like acting as case studies for students at medical or law school, or even undercover security at a grocery store. I had a gig last week at the university with some students who were training to be HR representatives. My job was to act as if I was having problems at the workplace. They were supposed to respond, problem solve, and write about it afterwards, I guess. So, it's just me and the student in a room. Both of us kind of pretending to be someone we're not, but we're going with it. One of them got really into my story and even cried. I guess it was really intense for some of them. Probably because they didn't know me personally, and for all they knew, these were problems I was actually having. I think what it comes down to really is that when you're a simulation actor, for practical purposes in life, there's no fourth wall to break. Simulation acting has a real practical application. It's useful, and it can be the most powerful.
No.
An assistant brings in a group of actors who have been hired by their musicians to simulate a live audience for the recording. The actors' unpredictable responses to the environment provides for precisely the variable conditions these musicians feel they need to perform improvised music. Music, they say, that straddles that fine line between deliberation and chance.
Yeah, okay, good. All right. Oh, come on. Yeah, hurry up, everybody. Come on. Okay, this, wow. Are these all made in India?
All right.
Is it like a...
Hey, Victor. Come here. Victor. Hey, Victor, I got this. Victor, come here. Come on, you two. Come on. Come on over. Over here.
They got the vertical turntable.
Okay. I can. I need you guys to do me a favor, all right? You got me? All right, we're on the same eye level. We're about the same size.
You know, and it was very weird that it was combined, modeling and acting was combined.
Did you make a complaint?
Like, what the heck? Seriously.
That's great.
It is horrible. It's awful. Yes. Yell things like, you suck, get off the stage. Are you serious?
This looks good on screen, too. Yeah. Oh, I guess we have to sit down.
The musician motions for the actors to take their seats. Earlier, the actors were given very specific instructions. They were told that in the instance when a musician's eyes meet theirs, they are to offer looks of encouragement, motivation, and solidarity. Gohar Jan, born in India's Angelina Yearwood, of Armenian descent, was the first ever Indian musician to have sung into the recording horn of a gramophone. In 1902, Frederick Williams Geisberg of the Gramophone Company hired her to produce the first ever recording of Indian music for a sum of 3,000 rupees. Jan, a Muslim female musician known by many for her melodious, captivating voice, stands as the very antithesis to musicologist Badkande's prejudicial worldview. To conclude her rendition of Rag Barave, she permanently inscribed the wax record with her name, making history when she said, "My name is Gohar Jan."
It's okay, it's okay. Just be super careful, okay? Take your time.
We got it. Teamwork. Nothing like teamwork.
Thank you. Sorry about that. There you go. After you guys. You're welcome.